So, I think I start off every video by saying so. We've now, yes, we brought it up. We brought it up in strength, chroma value, etc. But that was just the stain. Now we've dumbed everything down. Now we're going to bring it up again, like a phoenix, right? Phoenix from the fire. I decided in the foreground here that yes, we're probably not going to have any direct sunlight on some of these objects, but a little bit of light and a little bit of design is still necessary. So I put in this rocky ridge. A bit of grass will be behind here. We're kind of at the stage where I can let this dry over the weekend and I'll get into the sky. That'll be the next thing we play with. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I didn't want too flat a foreground, that's why I introduced a few rocks. Plus it falls in line with, a bit of rock here, these rocks in the distance. I may have to touch up a few spots even on my wash-in. I've lost my dark outlining here, and maybe I'll be worried about it, maybe I won't. We'll see. I got a question from one of you guys that said, what is a wash-in? Well, a wash-in is no different than a stain in the materials that I use. A wash-in is like some people would call it a block-in. I've designed everything, and I'm washing in general, the colors that I'm going to be using. So it's like I'm painting the entire painting, but I'm thinning the paint off so much with turpentine, or with a paint thinner of your choice, that I have all these guides in place. It makes the final painting, the overpainting you might call it, much easier to do. A stain is simply staining the entire canvas, and again you're thinning off your oil paint considerably. What it really means is you want your paint to be thick enough as to be opaque if you want it to be, or thin enough so that it's a little translucent. The main thing is, when you're done your wash-in, you don't want ridges. You don't want physical ridges on your paint, so that when you on your wash-in, so that when you go over it with a brush, you don't have little ridges that leave deposits of paint that are thicker than you intend them to be. I'm only talking about my way of doing things. You can certainly do a wash-in using less thinner, and it can be somewhat textural. There are people who go full paint for a wash-in, okay? And then after that they'll go into it and they'll start to scumble and play in different ways. So it's a pretty malleable definition. I did not need to stain this whole canvas if I was already going to design something. Often I'll just go onto a white canvas, sketch in things with charcoal, and then use dark lines to draw with paint. Some of my lines, again, paint and thinner, always using thinner. Paint thinner, mineral spirits, turpentine. There are a number of materials out there that are suitable. And then I could have gone in after those dark lines were in place, and I could have laid these colors in. But it didn't used to bother me so much, but it does now. I do not like facing a blinding white canvas. It's just too much. It hinders my ability to gauge my values, the values and colors that I want to put on that canvas. If I had on a white canvas simply drawn in some lines and started to paint the sky, I would not be able to gauge how high my values would be, and certainly what colors I would want in this sky, because I'd be faced with that against the rest of the canvas being white. That's why I like to tint the whole thing, even before a wash-in. Don't always do it. there is no formula. Don't believe there is a formula, because there isn't. Each painting is individual in its execution. I think for me it is, for sure. So that's a wash-in. Wash-in is basically you're making your painting, but you're thinning off your paint so much there's no texture on the surface of your painting. So again, it's like a stain, but rather than just staining the entire canvas, you're using a number of different colors to underpaint your composition. In this case, yeah, I stained the entire thing. And that's mainly because I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to put on it at that moment. But it still was an aid to get rid of all of that white, right? So once all of that white was gone, and I left it, I think, for a day or overnight. By the next morning, by then, I had an idea. No, as it worked out with this painting, it was later the same day that I had an idea of what I wanted to do. It's, there aren't rules, okay? There are guidelines, there aren't rules. Anyway, I'll stop blithering, because that's what I'm doing. If you want to know more about a wash-in, there are a plethora of websites out there, YouTube videos to show you what it is. I'm happy with this right now. It's very dark, and that's fine. It's already almost a painting. Sometimes when I get a wash-in done, I'm so happy with it that I think, it's kind of a pity I got to paint over it. But I know I can improve on it, so that's what I'm going to do. Next, we're going to pop into the sky here. We're going to put some zeal in here. We're going to put some punch into the sky. Yeah, the painting's not going to be about the sky, but I want this painting to be very alive. Well, I want that from every painting, but so I'm going to put a fair bit of color here. Again, these purples will be echoed in the water. Even some of this light will be echoed in some of the highlights in the water. We'll just see how it goes. Play it by ear, or I guess if you're a painter, you should probably play it by eye. See you soon. No, I'm not saying Heil Hitler. Oh my goodness. See you later, guys.